HMS Vanquisher was a V-class destroyer of the British Royal Navy that saw service in World War I and World War II. Construction and commissioning. Vanquisher, the first Royal Navy ship of the name, was ordered on 30th of June 1916 as part of the 9th Order of the 1916-17 naval program. She was laid down on 27th of September 1916 by John Brown and Amp Company at Clydesbank, Scotland, and fitted to carry 60 naval mines by order of the British Admiralty on 12th of January 1917. She was launched on 28th of August 1917 and was commissioned on 2nd of October 1917. Service history. World War I. Upon completion, V and W-class destroyers, including Vanquisher, were assigned to the Grand Fleet. A Harwich Force Vanquisher saw service in the last year of World War I. On 1st of August 1918, Vanquisher was operating as part of the 20th Destroyer Flotilla when the flotilla departed the Humber estuary to lay a minefield in the North Sea, at the outer end of one of the German-swept channels through the German minefield in the Heligoland Bight. At 23:47 hours the force was within 20 nautical miles of the area it was to mine when the destroyer Vehement struck a mine. Its explosion caused Vehement's forward ammunition magazine to detonate, blowing off the entire forward section of the ship forward of the forward funnel, killing 1 officer and 47 ratings. As the force maneuvered to clear the minefield it had entered, the destroyer Ariel also struck a mine at 0:10 hours on 2nd of August and, in a repeat of what had happened to Vehement, suffered a magazine detonation that blew off the entire section of the ship forward of the whaleboats David. Ariel sank at about 1 o'clock hours on 2nd of August with the loss of 4 officers and 45 ratings, but Vehement remained afloat, and her crew had put out all of her fires by about an hour after she struck the mine. She was taken in tow by the destroyer Abdiel in the hope of saving her, but at 4 o'clock hours on 2nd of August Vehement's stern rose into the air, making further towing impossible. Vehement's surviving crew opened all of her hull valves to speed her sinking and abandoned ship, and Vanquisher and the destroyer Telemachus then sank Vehement with gunfire. Vanquisher took part in history's first deployment of operational magnetic bottom mines when she joined Abdiel, Telemachus, and the destroyers Tarpon, Vanoc, and Venturous, escorted by 8 other destroyers, in laying 234 Sinker Mk1 mines in the North Sea off the coast of Flanders, Belgique, about 8 nautical miles north of Dunkirk, France. On 8th of August 1918, German forces did not interfere with the operations. She also participated with Abdiel, Tarpon, Telemachus, and Venturous in the second operation to lay sinker mines on 22nd of August 1918, in the North Sea off Flanders about 17 nautical miles north of Zeebrugge, Belgium, supported by Royal Air Force aircraft which patrolled to prevent German aerial observation of the operation. Intra-war years. In 1921, Vanquisher joined the light cruisers Caledon, Castor, Cordelia, and Curacao and the destroyers Victus, Venetia, Viceroy, Violent, Viscount, Winchelsea, and Wolfhound in a Baltic cruise, departing the United Kingdom on 31st of August 1921. The ships crossed the North Sea, transited the Kaiser Wilhelm Canal to enter the Baltic, and called at Danzig in the Free City of Danzig, Memel in the Klaipeda region, Liepaja, Latvia, Riga, Latvia, Tallinn, Estonia, Helsinki, Finland, Stockholm, Sweden, Copenhagen, Denmark, Gothenburg, Sweden, and Christiania, Norway, before crossing the North Sea and ending the voyage at Port Edgar, Scotland, on 15th of October October 1921. During the 1920s and 1930s, Vanquisher was assigned to the Atlantic Fleet and Mediterranean Fleet, and in 1938 she was attached to the 1st Anti-Submarine Flotilla at Portland, England. World War II. After the United Kingdom entered World War II in September 1939, Vanquisher, Winchelsea, the destroyer leader Mackay, and the destroyers Versatile, Vimy, Walker, Warwick, and Whirlwind were assigned to the 11th Destroyer Flotilla at Plymouth for convoy escort and patrol duties in the western approaches. Vanquisher, Walker, and Winchelsea escorted convoy Ob 2 on the 9th of September 1939, and were returning to Plymouth from this duty when Vanquisher and Walker collided in the North Atlantic Ocean about 200 nautical miles southwest of Cape Clear Island, Ireland, on 10 of the 11th of September 1939. Both ships suffered heavy damage, and Vanquisher had to be towed back to port. Walker, able to proceed under her own power, took casualties from Vanquisher aboard for transportation to the United Kingdom. Walker was under repair until mid-November 1939, but Vanquisher's repairs were not complete until early January 1940. In January 1940, Vanquisher underwent post-repair acceptance trials, then returned to convoy defense operations in the western approaches with the 11th Destroyer Flotilla, later being reassigned to the English Channel and southwestern approaches. In May 1940 she was again reassigned, this time to Dover Command, to take part in Operation Dynamo, the evacuation of Allied troops from Dunkirk, France, which she joined on the 28th of May 1940. She made 7 trips between Dunkirk and Dover, England, carrying 241 troops in a voyage on the 29th of May, 582 and 622 troops in 2 trips on the 30th of May, 640 and 168 troops in 2 voyages on the 1st of June 1940, and 37 and 414 troops in 2 trips on the 3rd of June 1940. On the 12th of June 1940 she joined the escort of the French battleship Jean Bart on Jean Bart's voyage from Saint-Nazaire, France, to Casablanca, French Morocco, then on the 19th of June 1940 steamed to Saint-Nazaire to take part in Operation Ariel, the evacuation of British Expeditionary Force personnel from French ports on the Bay of Biscay. On the 20th of June 1940, she embarked a demolition party and steamed to La Pallas to destroy port facilities there, but did not land the team. She returned to the United Kingdom at Plymouth on the 22nd of June 1940. In July 1940, Vanquisher returned to convoy defense duties with the 11th Destroyer Flotilla, and on the 8th of July 1940 she and the destroyer Scimitar rescued 43 survivors of the British merchant ship Humber Arm, which the German submarine U-99 had torpedoed and sunk in the North Atlantic 60 nautical miles south of Fastnet Rock Island, at 50.6000 degrees north, 9.4000 degrees west, 50.6000 minus 9.4000. In September 1940, she was reassigned to the 8th Escort Group at Liverpool for convoy escort operations in the North Atlantic, and that month was part of the escort for convoy Ob 216. In November 1940, she and the rest of the 8th Escort Group was assigned to the Gibraltar United Kingdom convoy route and deployed to the Gibraltar area as an anti-submarine hunting group, continuing this duty into 1941. On the 19th of May 1941, Vanquisher rescued 2 survivors of the British merchant ship Empire Ridge, which the German submarine U-96 D56 are torpedoed and sunk in the North Atlantic 90 nautical miles west of Bloody Foreland, Ireland, at 55.1333 degrees north, 10.66667 degrees west, 55.1333 minus 10.66667. Later in the month, she was transferred to Freetown in Sierra Leone to take part in local convoy escort duties there. From 13 to the 19th of June 1941, she and the destroyers Velox and Wild Swan escorted convoy WS-9A during the final segment of its voyage to Freetown, and from 20 to the 22nd of June 1941 the same three destroyers and the destroyer Boreas escorted WS-9A on the first leg of the next stage of its voyage as it steamed from Freetown for the Middle East via the Cape of Good Hope before they detached from the convoy to return to Freetown. From 16 to the 18th of July 1941, Vanquisher, Boreas, Velox, and the destroyer Brilliant similarly escorted convoy WS-9B after its departure from Freetown for the Cape of Good Hope before detaching and returning to Freetown. Vanquisher was transferred to the 10th Escort Group and returned to the United Kingdom in October 1941, and in November 1941, the month in which she was adopted by the civil community of Nuneaton, Warwickshire. In a Warship Week National Savings Campaign, she began convoy escort operations in the northwestern approaches. From 13 to the 16th of November 1941, she and the destroyers Badsworth Exmoor Volunteer, and which joined the escort of convoy WS-12Z during the first leg of its voyage from the River Clyde in Scotland, then detached and returned to the Clyde. From 14 to the 15th of December 1941, Vanquisher Volunteer, and which escorted convoy WS-14 during a portion of its voyage from the Clyde to Freetown, then returned to the Clyde. On the 12th of January 1942, Vanquisher, Vanoc Volunteer, Walker, and the destroyer Witherington departed the Clyde as the local escort for convoy WS-15, staying with it during its transit of the western approaches until relieved by the Royal Australian Navy destroyer HMS Norman and the Polish Navy destroyer ORP Garland on the 17th of January 1942, after which she and rest of the local escort detached and returned to the Clyde. In February 1942, Vanquisher was detached from the 8th Escort Group to operate with the 1st Minlaying Squadron, and on the 18th of February she escorted the squadron's ships during a minlaying sortie in the Northern Barrage in Operation SN-84. She then returned to her escort group to continue convoy defense operations. In September 1942, Vanquisher entered Portsmouth Dockyard for conversion into a long-range escort. The conversion lasted into 1943. In April 1943, Vanquisher underwent post-conversion acceptance trials, then conducted workups to prepare for operations in the North Atlantic. In May 1943, she resumed her convoy escort duties as a part of the 6th Escort Group, which also included the destroyer Fame, the frigate Devrin, the corvettes Acanthus, Kingcup, and Vervain, and the Royal Norwegian Navy corvette Sandines, Rose, Eglantine, and Potentia. In October 1943, the 6th Escort Group joined the destroyers Duncan and Vidot and the corvettes Pink and Sunflower of the 7th Escort Group in defending convoy on 206 during its transatlantic voyage. On the 15th of October 1943, On 206 came under sustained attack by German submarines, and on the 16th of October, Vanquisher Duncan Unvided drove off the submarine U-844, which made a determined effort to attack the convoy. Vanquisher continued her North Atlantic convoy operations into 1944, and escorted convoy on 29 with the rest of the 6th Escort Group during February 1944. In May 1944, she was selected for participation in Operation Neptune, the assault phase of the Allied invasion of Normandy scheduled for early June 1944, and was assigned to escort Group 106 with the frigates Struhl, the corvettes Sibelia and Balsam, and motor launchers of the Royal Navy Coastal Forces for the operation. In early June, she joined Escort Group 106 at Milford Haven, Wales, and on the 4th of June the group, supplemented by 2 more corvettes and the naval trawlers Caldy and Gwyll, rendezvoused with an assault convoy, Convoy EMB-3, consisting of 11 empty motor transport ships, in the Irish Sea. On the 5th of June, the landings were delayed for 24 hours due to bad weather, but on the 6th of June, the day of the initial landings, Vanquisher and the other ships of her convoy moved to ports on the south coast of England, where the motor transport ships were loaded. On the 7th of June, the convoy made its passage to the beachhead, and on the 8th of June it arrived off the invasion beaches and discharged its cargo. On the 10th of June, Vanquisher began escorting convoys carrying reinforcements and supplies from Falmouth to the beachhead, continuing in this role until Operation Neptune concluded toward the end of June. She then returned to the 6th Escort Group and escorted North Atlantic convoys for the rest of 1944 and into 1945. In April 1945, Vanquisher was part of the escort for Convoy Honor 265. On the 10th of April, she and the corvette Untitled Chapter cooperated in a depth-charge attack that sank the German submarine U-878 with all hands in the Bay of Biscay, west of Saint-Nazaire, France, at 47.58333 degrees north, 10.5500 degrees west, 47.58333 minus 10.5500. After the surrender of Germany in early May 1945, the Royal Navy withdrew Vanquisher from service. Decommissioning and disposal. Vanquisher was decommissioned in June 1945 and placed in reserve. Placed on the disposal list in 1947, she was sold on the 4th of March to the 4th of May 1947 to BISCO for scrapping by Metal Industries. She arrived under tow at the shipbreakers' yard at Charlestown, Fife, Scotland, in October 1948. Bibliography. Campbell, John. Naval Weapons of World War II. Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Institute Press. ISBN 0870214594. Chesno, Roger, ed. Conway's All the World's Fighting Ships 1922–1946. Greenwich, UK. Conway Maritime Press. ISBN 0851771467. College, J. J. Warlow, Ben. Ships of the Royal Navy. The Complete Record of All Fighting Ships of the Royal Navy. London, Chatham Publishing. ISBN 9781861762818. OCLC 67,375,475. Cocker, Morris, Alan, Ian. Destroyers of the Royal Navy, 1893–1981. ISBN 0711010757. Friedman, Norman. British destroyers from earliest days to the Second World War. Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Institute Press. ISBN 9781591140818. Gardner, Robert and Amp. Gray, Randall eds. Conway's All the World's Fighting Ships, 1906 to 1921. Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Institute Press. ISBN 0851772455. Lenton, H.T. British Namp. Empire Warships of the Second World War. Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Institute Press. ISBN 1-557500487. March, Edgar J. British Destroyers, A History of Development, 1892 to 1953, drawn by Admiralty permission from official records. AMP returns, ships covers and AMP building plans. London, Sealy Service. OCLC 164,893,555. Preston, Anthony. Vietnam, W. Class Destroyers 1917 to 1945. London, MacDonald. OCLC 464,542,895. Raven, Alan and Amp. Roberts, John. V. and W. Class Destroyers. Man o' War 2. London, Arms and Amp. Armour. ISBN 0853682233X. Rowe, Jürgen. Chronology of the War at Sea 1939 to 1945. The Naval History of World War II. Annapolis, Maryland. Naval Institute Press. ISBN 1-591141192. Winnie, Bob. The U-Boat Peril, A Fight for Survival. Castle. ISBN 0304351326. Whitley, M.J. Destroyers of World War II. Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Institute Press. ISBN 0870213261. Windsor, John D. B. E.F. Ships Before, At and After Dunkirk. Gravesend, Kent. World Ship Society. ISBN 0905617916.